Episode 3, Gentleman's Guidebook. Got my guest today, good friend, bartender extraordinaire, overall cool guy, Mack Goody, aka Goody. What up?
Honored to be here.
We haven't chopped up in a while. Mack and I used to work together bartending and also work for Peloton. I've been meaning to chop it up with you for a minute. See, you've been doing a lot of making moves and doing different things. You're someone that I always like to see and check in on because you always seem to be doing something.
So right now,
yeah, man. Yeah. I've been seeing you doing the Pilates and these workout sessions.
It's more yoga. It's yoga.
Yeah?
Yeah. Pilates, I haven't done Pilates in about a decade.
Yeah?
But yeah, I've been doing some workouts. Those ones are just two friends from high school. One guy from high school and his brother. They do these workouts out of their backyard.
That's Patrick's brother?
No. This is just another guy from high school.
Okay.
And Pat goes with me, but we do workouts Mondays and Wednesdays with them every morning, and then we finish with a nice flow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's been nice.
And what made you do that over the weights? Well, you were doing slight weights, but you're doing more.
No, I haven't worked out. I haven't been in good shape since my young 20s.
Yeah.
I guess that's most people, right?
Yeah.
But my mid 20s, I was kind of out of it for a while, but COVID really got me back into it again.
Yeah.
Just having extra time alone. I live by myself, so there was plenty of time to just either make my body worse or better. So I figured I might as well
do something positive.
Exactly, yeah. So it's been nice. It's been good. It took me a long time to kind of get back into it, but my boy started posting that he was doing these crazy workouts from home. And He was doing it every day. I was seeing it, and I was like, bro, are you just saving these videos, or are you actually doing these live? And he's like, no, I do this every day. I was like, I gotta come up there for a workout, and he had this thing in place where he was trying to make this schedule with a bunch of guys and figure out a whole a program that he wanted to run. So right now he's in this not a trial phase, but just the beginning stages of it.
Yeah. And
I was lucky enough to be one of the participants. So
yeah, it looks good, man. It looks really good. I know you were working out before as we were working on Peloton, but I'm like, this.
Yeah, that's a different workout though. This is more intense. It's more fun.
I like that. And you're back in the industry. You're back bartending.
Yes, yeah. For now, I don't know how long it's gonna last.
Yeah.
I hope not for long. But I feel like I say that every time I get a new bar job. So I still do have a passion for it. I can't lie. There's always that's always gonna be there, but it comes and goes.
Yeah.
So right now I'm in this phase of just a limbo stage and figuring out what's gonna be next for that aspect of my life when it comes to the bar.
Yeah.
But I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm trying to enjoy it for the most part for now. It's only part-time, extremely part-time.
Yeah.
Because, like we said, I do all these random things.
Yeah, and I definitely want to touch into some of those random things you're doing. Do you find that there's an aura over the city now when it comes to going out to bars? People just kind of go out and stay in their respective corners with people they know. They don't really mingle with new people. There's not a lot of schmoozing going on anymore.
No, the bar I'm at is not really meant for that. Yeah, so maybe I'm biased, but I don't see it in my work week.
Yeah.
I think it probably does exist at other places. My bar is not a bar you're gonna go to and post on Instagram in the bathroom. It's not that kind of place, right?
Yeah.
I like it, don't get me wrong, but it's just a very chill, casual pub.
Yeah.
It's got the regulars, it's got people that have been going there for a while, but it's not it's not one of those types of places.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and I'm not that kind of guy who's gonna go out and mingle now randomly at random bars. Life just feels different. I'm way less, not less social, but I'm just out less, I guess, now compared to where I was a year or 2 years ago, pre-COVID, I guess.
Yeah.
So you're asking the wrong guy.
So I recently had a conversation with a good friend of mine, and he's not a big telephone talker. It's usually very, very short, just cut to the chase. But he was just talking to me for half an hour this weekend about how different this is and how much bullshit it is, because he's been traveling, he's been out, so he's been to Mississippi. He went 2 weeks ago.
What's in Mississippi?
He went to a football game, Ole Miss.
Okay.
I do a football trip every year. But he's gone to Kentucky, he's been in Miami, he's been in Mexico, all during COVID. All these places are basically open, right? And people are outside. When you come back here, it's dude, we're in face masks.
It's different.
So it's it's a different type of aura around the city. I've been out to one bar since this whole thing's taking place, and like for me, it's not my headspace anymore. Like I'm much rather a kickback at somebody's house, relaxing, chilling, your own music, bring your own beer, save so much money. Like I'm much rather that.
That's always been your vibe, I feel like. I mean, you were always at bars before, so was I. But like, you and I are pretty chill. I like to kick it at someone's crib, have people over. New Year's, I've never been like a guy to go out on New Year's and like wait in line and pay crazy prices. I'd rather just chill at a place like this. Like someone's house, kick it with the guys. That's much more my alley. So I mean, maybe COVID kind of kept me in that comfort zone. Is that good or bad?
I mean, it could be for sure as both, right? It is what it is type of thing. I actually want to get into your business with their DJs.
That's been weird.
It's been weird all day.
Well, like COVID took away the events, right? And I mean, like I haven't really pursued it the way that I was when I first started it. Like I started that in March of 2018, and like I had it in, right? Like with all the restaurant hookups I had, like I had good connections to get it going. And then once I got in touch with a couple DJs, you know, it just kind of took off. And like going into COVID, like I was working full time at the bar, plus I had the event business going, and we were doing like regular spots 2-3 times a week at each venue. Like, it was good. It was good, a good little side hustle. But obviously, events were like one of the main things that were taken away in the COVID season, right? So
most of your guys were purely just doing bars, or did weddings, or different?
We did everything. We did bars, weddings, car dealerships, like when they had new cars being released. Even this year, I did a couple like auto detailing places where they're doing. I'll do any type of event. I don't care what it is. I don't discriminate.
And what made you start that?
I love music. I had a connection with the bar I was working at the time, or you worked there too, with that landing for a while. Right? And I mean, I was in the right place at the right time. They were unhappy with their current provider. I had no business doing that. Like I didn't plan on it, but I had a few friends that were DJs. One specifically who I knew would be able to do that gig like every Friday and Saturday there. So I said, well, what if I just took over? Like, you know, I could work a schedule out and get some guys in here, and if it doesn't work out, then just go back to whoever you were with before. But like, what's the harm, right? So I got in there, got good. They liked what they heard, and you know, there was no issues with guys coming in late or you know, underperforming or anything like that. And so luckily that restaurant was a chain, so then I got into another one, and then got into another one, and then it just kind of
snowballed.
Exactly. And then all the other events was more me hustling, like getting weddings and then car dealership things, and like Holt Renfrew was one of our big clients, still is. They still do events with me like
that's
monthly now.
Yorkdale?
No, it's in Square One.
Okay.
So that took a little more time into it, but I mean, it's always been a side thing, right? Like when I first started it, I took about 6 or 8 months off work, left the bar industry in total, and just focused on that. But then after a certain amount of time, it just ran itself, right? Like, me and my friend, we own it together, and I mean, I can do it all from my phone sitting right here, right? Like, I have no overhead, I have no office, I don't need any of that stuff. But that's all it was always meant to be, because it was never something that I thought when I was younger, like, well, I want to own a business and I want to get into being an agent for DJs, like I don't know what you want to call it, but it just kind of happened, and I enjoyed it, and it put some money in my pocket. So
you think you got a business acumen for your dad?
From my dad? I would say that to a certain extent. Like him and I are very similar in a lot of ways. Like we both always worked in the food industry, and he had his own business when he was like way too young, like 18 or 19. He
owned it himself?
He owned a franchise, in Pizzaville when I think he was 19, and he sold in his mid-20s.
Yeah, what's it called too? He had New York Fries too? No.
He works for New York Fries.
Okay.
He's at the head office. So he switched over to the corporate side like years and years ago.
Yeah.
But he's definitely got a knack for that business side. And I mean, so do I, but I don't like saying that. Like, I don't want to be the business guy. Like, when you say like I'm a business guy, it's like, oh, so you just care about money. It's like, no, I don't really care about money.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have bills to pay. I got, you know, things I like to do. I like to travel. I like to do stuff. But do I understand it more than some of my friends who are on the artist side of things? Absolutely. So it's kind of a good preparing.
Yeah.
But I'm like the least responsible business person you'll meet, because I always agree with the artist. I always am like, you know what? I don't care about the money. I care about doing what's right or doing what your heart tells you. And like that is the worst business advice someone could give you.
Yeah.
But that's what comes first to me.
That's good though, because I feel like people who are just solely based upon business and the bottom line, it's a
different world.
Yeah, it's the humanity's gone, right?
And I mean, maybe if I was like that, then like Whitlock would be a little more. Whitlock's the name of the business.
Yeah,
would be a little more successful as to where it is right now. But I don't. There's like it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah,
it's always been that side thing, like I said. So I mean, if I had a real passion for it, then I'd probably pursue it. But you know, maybe it's run its course. Maybe it'll pick back up again. Who knows? But I'm not sweating it. Yeah.
So what do you see yourself doing in the future? Because this has been I'll talk for a bit so you have time to think about the question, but it's been one of the most difficult things to kind of come to grips with now in this current society as is now, because a lot of things that were here before in terms of occupations are gone, or they've transformed into something different, right? And I feel like you're a lot like me, like you're kind of self-sufficient enough where you don't want to really be working for anybody too tough, and you want to enjoy what you're doing, right? So I don't know, it's one of the questions I've come to kind of meditate on, and it's been very difficult to answer. And I like to ask people what they think the same way now, just based on everything that's happened. And what do you think you're looking at now based on how everything is currently?
I don't even think that like the outside world would, like, does it matter? Like, does that affect where I am right now? Like, in a way, yeah. Like I said, okay, COVID took away some business. I was in and out of bar jobs. I had a steady one before. Yeah. But I mean, like, where do I see myself in 5 years? I have no idea. You know those guys who are like riding their bikes with neon lights all over downtown Toronto? Yeah. I could be there in 5 years. I could be on a boat in the Philippines. I could be maybe exactly where I am. I don't have no idea, but I feel like COVID, that wouldn't changed. Yeah. Like it's a mystery to me. The next 5 years are always going to be a mystery, and I hope that it stays that way.
So you don't like anything concrete?
I like some things to know, like to be comfortable with some things. I mean, there's always a comforting idea of like having these certain things in their place. Like I don't know what you want to call it, but I also like when something's unexpected, and you don't know what's coming next, and like bartending has been a big part of that. Like I couldn't just do an office 9 to 5, so like I might have been at the same bar for a few years straight, but every shift is something different, right? Yeah. So I mean that kind of falls into that category as well.
And it was a grind too. Like I feel like even when we bartended together, it's like I do the same thing with you. I do with most people. They're like, yo, how much money you want to make today? Type of thing before I shift, and let's get there. But now even with that's changed now, because you don't get the tips the same day anymore like it was before.
It's all different now.
So it's pretty foreign, and even now, like myself looking like maybe pick up a side gig, it's like, man, I want something really small where like there's not a lot of anything. I can just do everything and it closes early type of thing.
Yeah, those are hard to find.
Yeah.
But the feeling is different. Like, how long have you not been bartending now? A couple of years.
So I left the industry this Saturday before COVID, the first initial lockdowns.
Oh, so like almost 2 years.
Yeah, the lockdown was on the Tuesday, and I quit on the front or let go.
So you have never actually worked through COVID. So like when I left the bar in March of 2020, I went back in June to the same bar, and it was such a different feeling. Yeah. Because I knew what it was like before, right? So I don't know. I can't tell if maybe if I went somewhere different, I wouldn't have felt that same way. But because I was at that exact location, and then I was only a few months apart, it just felt so wrong in so many ways. And then when the lockdown came again in September, October of last year, whatever that was, I was so glad to be out of that environment. Because even though I loved bartending and still do, when you know something and then it's different when you go back to it in a bad way. Yeah. You're like, this just isn't the same, and you don't enjoy it the same way, right?
That's how my headspace is too.
Yeah, and I mean, it'll be a big shock for you. I feel like if you go back, like having to wear the mask, and everyone that comes in the door, you gotta check their vaccines and their IDs, and it's just a different world.
Yeah.
Like it's a totally different experience. Yeah, I
It's
can't explain it. You got to experience it.
Yeah, it's very difficult navigating. I think this new world, especially when you want to plan for the future, man. There's like so much things I want to plan, but the amount of earning power you have in this current economy is like, it's pretty shit, man. Like a lot of people are without. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things I've done in my past that I can go back to if push came to shove, but I don't see myself going back to the bank, or like being a financial advisor, or any of these things, IKEA. There's a number of things I did in my past that I don't think I'd ever want to go back to, especially now that I've seen even a space like this wouldn't have been a possibility a couple of years ago. Like I wouldn't think this kind of just fell in my lap. So I'm a lot the same, like when it comes to future goals. Like for me now, when I'm framing my goals for the future, I'm framing it now for Maria and myself. So it's a little different because I'm older, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, do I want a house later on in life? Do I want to live off the grid or live abroad? Like, so many questions that, when I moved here 10 years ago, I would never even thought of. It's like, that was so far in the future. It's like, those are tomorrow problems. So let me just drink this Guinness right here and chill on Sunday and watch some football and be okay.
But tomorrow's here now?
Tomorrow it feels like it's here. I was telling Jordan, my previous guest, like, never at any point in my life have I felt more up against the wall in terms of creativity versus commerce. Mm-hmm. It's one or the other. Like if I chose to, I can do any job and do it proficiently. But if I was to do something like take up a trade right now, like I'm going headfirst into a trade, which means a lot of my art will suffer because I won't have as much time, right? You have to dedicate a lot of your time when you're becoming a tradesman, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's something I want to be. Financial advisor is something I've done before, and I like the numbers. I went to school for accounting. But even that, it's like, man, I'm an artist. Like, in my soul, I'm an artist, you know what I mean? Even this weekend, I did a man party. It's funny because it's almost in line with the whole theme of the show, but it was like a bunch of guy friends that their wives did their own thing, or their girlfriends did their own thing. We had like I'm not even particularly into this, but they did a beer pong tournament. They had so much music.
You're not into beer pong?
Huh?
You're not into beer pong?
Never been a thing for me. When I was young,
not that I play religiously, but I mean it's fun.
Oh, it's fun. It's fun. I'm just like, for me, I was more of a flip cup type of guy. I find that much more enjoyable. And when I was younger, I mean, going to like my college days, we'd be playing euchre.
Euchre in college?
Yeah, euchre was a regular thing. Like before we went to the bars, we'd have euchre tournaments, and we just drank profusely.
It was big fun.
I'm like, I mean, we were all young. It's like, but we lived like, an hour out of the city, and there's a lot of college people there. And what do you do with the college? Like, we don't watch TV. We play cards, and we smoke and we chill, So that was a thing because that's just what people did. There was no poker then. Like it became a big thing. Like it was taboo then. Now it's pretty much commonplace.
Yeah,
right?
I feel like like Texas Hold'em specifically. Mm-hmm. Like people started playing that in the last
that's
decades.
When the hockey debacle happened. That's when they started broadcasting poker on TV because they needed to fill all that time.
Oh, really?
That's how they became such a big thing on TV.
Now it's on TV every day.
Yeah,
like from 4 to 7 now.
Yeah,
range.
So that was like a thing that it was introduced later on. We started doing that, but the whole beer pong flip cup thing, it kind of missed me. I was still going to parties then, but I was just never taking part in that. I'm like, this shit's so unhygienic. Ew. The balls are going everywhere.
Yeah, but you can't play with the beer. You gotta just pour water and drink from your beer on the side.
Yeah. Well,
that's the cleanliness.
I didn't even know this is a rule. Somebody hit the ball off the table and it landed in my drink, in my cup.
The one you were holding?
Yeah. So I had to drink.
Sounds like something.
There's like a rule behind that. It's never happened before. I kind of caught it. So I'm like, they're like, why would you do that? I'm like, it's just instinct. The ball was going, I wanted to catch the ball. And then I would end up losing the game. But whatever, that's neither here nor there. It's the man party was jokes. It was like, they had beef brisket there, and chicken, and like big dishes of wings. And one of the guys, a hunter, he just killed like a couple like they're almost like partridge. How do you say that?
Partridge?
Partridges. There we go.
I think so.
Yeah.
Partridge in a pear tree.
Yeah, like the Partridge Family. So that he did these little raps, but it was cool, like to be around a bunch of dudes and just chilling and just like having a good time. And that felt a lot more like how life was before. Somebody came up to me and was like, "Yo, what are you doing?" And I was smoking, and I drank really heavily as soon as I got there because I was trying to get comfortable and catch up, right? And I couldn't even like put two words together in order to tell this guy exactly what I was doing. And I'm like, yo, just
you're that messed up.
I was like, just ask me later, man. Like, because I sound stupid. He's trying to ask me serious questions. I'm like, dude, like, this is not really the place for right time. Place and time is not right now because my head is not there. Like, I'm trying to have fun tonight. But that question is like one of those things. I think it's probably one of the. It's a question I never ask people because I just think it's such a weird question. People ask you like, what do you do? And
that's a different question.
It's a different question.
I hate that
He wasn't doing that, but. His is more of a catch-up type of thing, like, okay, like, what's going on with your life right now, right?
That's different. Like, what do you do to me when someone says, like, well, so what do you do if I don't know them?
Yeah.
It's like, well, how do you pay your bills? That's what you're asking, right? How do you make money, or how much money do you make, roughly? Yeah. Versus, like, I don't know where I read it, or if I just heard it somewhere, but someone had said to me, or I read it somewhere, whatever it was, that like instead of asking that question, just ask like, how do you spend your time?
Yeah.
And then that person will tell you whatever they want to tell you based on that. Like if they start talking about work, then that's what they want to talk about. Then fine, lead into that. If they start saying, you know, with family and my kids and this and that, or you know, I play ball on the weekends and I'm into athletics, like whatever avenue of that. That's such a vague question. Whichever way they go with it, you can just. You can tell where they want what they want to talk about, right?
Whatever.
That's much more open, right?
Yeah.
So I don't mind that question at all. Someone asks me how do I spend my time, I can talk about that, like all the time. But when you ask me what do I do, like I just want to be like, bro, I'm unemployed. Like, are you judging me?
Yeah. I feel like it's a socioeconomic question, man. People ask me that so they can judge themselves against you to see where your social status stems from in this quote unquote caste system we got going here, but
I hate it. Like, how do you answer if someone says, "What do you do?"
Yo, I'm very, very honest now, man. Because I'm very confident about myself, and I just basically tell them, no, I don't do anything. And then like, you don't do anything. Like, what do you do for work? I'm like, nothing. I don't do anything. It's like,
how do you make your money?
Yeah,
pay your bills.
It's like this one of these things when people would ask me. It's so weird when people would ask me when I'm driving Uber or whatever. They ask me like, "Hey, where you from?" I'd be like, "I'm from here. I'm from Canada." They're like, "No, like where are you really from?" I'm like, "Well, my parents were born in Jamaica." And they're like, "Were you born there?" "No."
I just said.
So you're Canadian. I'm like,
there's only white people.
That's what I said. That. Yes, of course, man. No one like other people will ask you your background, but they want to know like they'll say like what heritage you are or whatever. Yeah. It's just a funny question. It's like they made that song Most Def in Common called The Questions. It's like, why do I need ID to get ID? If I had ID, I wouldn't need ID. It's an interesting concept, right? When people framing words, I find that even now, so more so than ever, I find people's words. I kind of dig into them, what they're really trying to say. And it's one of those things I used to always be.
It's hard to do though, like live.
Yeah.
When you're chatting with someone like in real time, like to compute, okay, what are they actually asking me? Versus like watching something or playing it back in your head later and you can have time to think about it. Like I don't have that skill yet to like dissect a conversation as I'm in real time. No, I'll think about it after and I'll be like, fuck, I should say this. Or like, not that I regret how the conversation went, but I'm like, if I thought about it more, if I had that awareness or that skill, I would have been able to respond in a better fashion.
It's scenarios, man, because I'm so inundated with so much media, and also from bartending and seeing so many people so often in different types of bars, like Taylor's and Jack's, Poorhouse, La Carnita, all different.
You mean the guests, like the customers, like interacting with those?
Yeah, so you start to see that you start to see things, you notice things, right?
Those are like more patterns, right? Because you're in like, even though you're in different bars and there's different people, there's still a pattern involved.
But watch even social cues when people are out together, they're sitting at the bar, like people are on dates or whatever.
Oh yeah, I love doing that.
Yeah, so you see certain ticks that you're like, oh.
But again, you're not involved in that, so you're like seeing it. It's much.
But when it comes back to you now, it becomes almost like a formality. It's different because I do have a lot of moments too when, like you said, like something will happen, I won't think about it too tough. And then I'll go home and I'll be like, shit. And like, did I see something wrong?
That's what they meant.
Oh,
I wish I had like said this back instead.
Yeah.
It's like I have no examples off the top of my head, but it's just little things that where like something like that happens, and I wish I had that skill, whatever it's called, talent, skill, I don't know.
Yeah.
Ability to just like dissect a conversation as it's happening.
Yeah.
You see it in like movies and TV shows, and like the character pauses and he's just like sitting there looking up in the air while he's giving this monologue to the fourth wall, right, to the crowd, and he's like going over all these things, and then he responds back to the person, and you're like, that was a perfect response. But in real life, like he just stared at the ceiling for like 20 seconds, like thinking of a response.
And no one does that. It's like you look crazy with that, you know what I mean?
But some people just do it like that. Like they just have that social.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called. But
it's weird. I don't know. It's weird, but yeah, it's something that I've noticed a lot more. It used to be a thing I primarily only noticed when I started smoking. That's why I hate smoking. I only do it conscious because I see people's true intentions, right? Like I just delve directly into what they're actually saying. And now it's something that I kind of have picked up. Like I said, it's more repetition than anything else. Who knows, man?
Yeah, that's true. Like everything, I guess. Maybe the problem is like these people that can dissect conversations like that. They find themselves in different conversations so often that they can just like navigate their way through. Versus like if I find myself in the same situations on a daily, weekly basis, how am I going to be able to gain that skill when I know what's coming every single time, right?
It's funny, dating scenarios is like that too. I found people who stay single but they date often. It's pretty much a nightmare for me. I think of being single and having to go through dates and repeat the best traits of my personality over, like an actual date where it's like a job interview, right? You're just like you're talking yourself up to the person and they're saying whether or not.
But it's very unnatural.
It's so unnatural, man. It's not organic at all.
I hate that.
And I find, especially with people who go on dates all the time, it's like, man, like, don't you get sick of regurgitating the same thing over and over? Because there must be stuff that comes up more than once.
But I feel like if I, that's not my personality to just like put myself out and go on dates with people that I barely know. Like, I'm much more of a natural dater.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like people who go on dates very often and like are just like constantly seeing new people, they probably just like talking about themselves a lot, right?
Yeah,
it just doesn't have to be a bad thing. I don't mean that in a negative way, but like, if you're just a very chatty social person and you like, they probably talk about themselves in conversations with the majority of the people they're with, not just in that situation, right?
Yeah.
So to them, even though to us we said it's unnatural, to them it's probably very natural.
I never thought about that aspect of it. And that adds a whole new layer to the whole thing.
Right? Because like saying the same thing over and over, it's like to them it's like, yeah, this is all what I'm about. Like,
yeah.
Do you like me? No, I'll just go say it to the next guy. Like I got no problem.
It becomes a numbers game, man. Yeah, that's
fine. If teach their own.
Yeah.
I just think it's weird. I wouldn't just be out there talking about all my positive traits and one weakness here and there to make it seem like
balance it out.
Is this a good date? Like, it's weird.
It is really weird, man. And I've never even really been like that either. I find everybody wants to talk about themselves more or less. For me, I try my hardest not to talk about myself at all. It's one
on a date?
Just in general in life. Like it's been years since I've dated. Like it's funny, all through high school I was single. All through college I was single, and now like trying to think back to that time when I was single for a prolonged period of time. It was like didn't exist. But yeah, man, I try to eliminate the me and the ego and things, but I have a thing where self-help is like a big thing. So I like to read different books and psychology, philosophy books in order to kind of figure out where I stand in my own neurosis. And I know as a general rule, just even being a bartender, and you see different personality traits, and you can categorize people. You know, where Jackson said spin slicing. They pick somebody up and then kind of it's basically stereotyping.
You're judging them.
Yeah. But a lot of traits, personality traits, more so than anything else, they're quite similar. You find the same things over and over in different people, right? But yeah, it's been one of the biggest things for me, just like cutting the meat out of everything, and it's difficult, man. When I watch these back again, and I see certain things in the way I speak, I'm like, shit, do I say like that much? Yeah. You never realize it until you look at it and you're like, shit, reevaluate. What am I doing? Why am I saying this? I got a grasp of the English language. Why am I saying this so often?
But as part of it, like maybe if you weren't on camera, you would just talk more naturally. Like if we were just walking down the street talking to each other.
Yeah, definitely.
You would it would be more of a casual flow versus like right now in this very second, everything we say we know is recorded. So like, is this how I actually talk, or am I like
just
trying to put on a show? I just said like 14 times. I don't think I talk like that.
No.
But when your head has that shift of like, oh, this is being recorded, it's gonna be played back later. It better sound good.
Every single one of these is like that for me. It's the first bit, like the first 5 minutes, like we were chopping up before. Every guest I've had in the first 3 weeks, I talked to them a little bit before. I don't really get into like even picking out what we were talking about today. Like I don't actually have an itinerary or a checklist because I like this very much to be organic. Well, like I said before, it's very natural. And as soon as the lights come on and the camera's on, I'm like, shit,
different.
It's like go time. But then I kind of warm into the conversation again, and I'm able to be normal.
Yeah.
And this it's all I guess what people feel when they go on reality TV. The camera's there all the time, but after a while,
those people are made for that. Like those are the people who go on dates and talk about themselves.
Yeah,
it's a different. I don't understand that. I don't mean that again. I don't mean it in a negative way. I just mean I don't personally. My mind doesn't think that way.
Yeah.
So I mean, if this was more natural to me, then like maybe from the get-go, like the conversation would have been like much more of a flow versus us trying to warm up to the camera or to whatever, the mic, and
be natural.
Yeah, exactly.
Act natural.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you if you saw that Kanye interview by any chance.
Yes, I did. Well, I didn't watch.
Highlights.
So my friend had watched already the first half hour, and I joined in with him around that point. So I saw most of it, but I don't know what happened in the beginning.
Both parts? You did 2 parts.
Drink champs?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I saw maybe an hour and a half of footage.
Yeah, so you probably
right up until the end. I don't
watched
know
the first time I watched. He's an interesting cat, man, because I feel like he dances along the line of insanity and complete prophethood at the same time, if that's even a word. But he talks about some things that are very enlightened, and then he follows it right back up with some stupid. So it's so difficult to take him seriously as a person. But when I think about someone who's got that amount of money and where they stand in the socio-economic ladder, it's like I feel almost as if the higher your trajectory in terms of your earning power, the less power you have to have what's it called, anonymity, because everything is now highlighted. Everyone knows who you are. You can't really go places.
He's been in that light for like
a long
2
time.
decades.
But you've noticed that there's been a downfall. Like mentally, his downfall has been like just kind of catapult. Like he's gonna basically jump off a cliff. And it's like I said, I deeply related to like fame. His fame is like very natural. And you, as a J. Cole fan, as big a fan as I am, you know like his whole thing was he wanted all those things. So the glam, the glitz, the watches, the Rockefeller chain, and he got rid of all of it. Rides a bicycle now. But that's almost what you have to do. When you get to that point, you have to either be a hermit or you get taken in by the luster of what that world is, the fame. I don't know if that's what you got from it, I'm going to ask you what you got from it. But that's what I got from it. I find that almost everybody's like that. Like Brittany was the same way. Like she got too big. But people who are extremely wealthy, it's like, where do you go in life? Everywhere you go, people know you. The Elon Musk of the world, all these people. To be incredibly wealthy and anonymous is like...
That's hard.
It's very difficult, man. What did you get from a Kanye interview?
I liked it. It was very entertaining. Watching Nori do an interview with anyone is so entertaining. Yeah. He's got his energy is so... He's so out there. He's so fun to watch. Yeah. He's just so happy all the time. He's funny, man. So I enjoy watching Drink Champs with anyone. But with Kanye, I thought he brought up a lot of good points. I think there's one part when he talks about he's at a basketball game or something, and when they show on TV Kanye West, hip hop artist, whatever, and he's like, I'm the #1 name in fashion. If you look up fashion, Yeezy's the #1 thing you find. I've made so many different albums with so many different genres, but they still call me a hip hop artist, probably because I'm black.
Yeah.
Why don't they just call me an artist?
Yeah.
I think that's valid. I think that's a very valid point that he brings up. But like you said, then he'll go and say something crazy 5 minutes later on a totally unrelated topic, and you're like, bro, how are you going to get these people to side with you? He doesn't care, obviously, if people side with him or not, but he does have this roller coaster, and you can see the way his train of thought is has no schedule. It's just wherever it goes, right?
Very fragmented, yeah.
Like Nori will ask him a question, and then he'll start answering it, but by the end of his monologue, he's way over there. And you're like, bro, how did you even get here? That's just the way his brain works.
Yeah. Some people call it genius. I don't know.
It is genius, but it's but genius is there's a, what did you say earlier? He was dancing on that line of genius and insanity. It's definitely both. It's just which one is it today? And he said that he's bipolar. He's come out saying he's got disorders. So I can't speak on that. I don't have any experience like that. I can't say I know what he's been through, because I don't. But I mean, he seems like he's happy.
Yeah.
For Kanye, I wouldn't be happy in that situation, because there's way too much shit going on for me. Mm-hmm. But he looks like he's in his element. Yeah. And it's a different element than he was in 5 years ago and 5 years before that. But wherever he is, he just always seems to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah. Whether
it's his Sunday service stuff or recording an album in Wyoming or on this Drink Champs interview, he's just always comfortable being that weird odd guy out. And how many times did he started talking shit about Talib Kweli? At the end he was doing the this guy or this guy with that game. It's common. He was just it's common, obviously. Talib's a terrible rapper, and I'm like, oh my god, he just does not care. He speaks from his heart, and it's nice to see, but it's also, I guess, rude. It's uncommon.
There's something to be said about being blunt and honest. But at the same time, when you have a relationship with that person,
I was like, man,
you don't put it out there like that. It's just that's completely void of any tact. This is someone that you're supposedly friends with. He was on your debut album, and you bigged him up in your debut album, even on the song itself. You mean Talib would stick to your rib? You were bringing that girl around to him because he was famous, and now he's not. You're making fun of the way he raps. He was good enough rapper for you.
I wasn't expecting that, but he didn't just do it with him. That was just the one example.
Yeah, I was very surprised with that.
That was the worst thing I ever did was sign Big Sean. I was like, yo, this guy just does not care.
Yeah, it's a mental
strange,
thing, man.
Strange, entertaining for us, the viewer.
Yeah,
give us something to watch. We're sitting here talking about it.
That's what Nori is saying. It's what you just you kind of just let him go. He winds up and he goes, and you just let him go, because they're trying to play game, slob something, a knob, whatever, and he's not. He's not picking it up. You got two answers, or you can drink, and he's just goes on with something completely different.
What do they expect?
That's who he is, and he doesn't have to do that. Nori's got the whole interview. He's you don't have to do this, and I get it. When you have that money and have access, you really don't have to do anything. But it's very different between the way Jay-Z conducts himself and the way Kanye conducts himself.
Oh yeah, those are two totally different people.
It's true. It's true.
That's like a true businessman who was an artist, who became an artist, and like he led it into his business, versus a guy who's truly an artist, and the money was a byproduct of his artistry.
Yeah.
Right. Like I feel like Jay-Z looks at the money, and it was like, yeah, I did that to become where I am.
Yeah.
And versus Kanye is that other side of like, I just care about the art. The money it came from the art.
Yeah.
I could not have it. Who cares? Didn't he say on like around the life of Pablo time that he was like $50 million in debt, and now he's a billionaire? Like, but he seems the exact same.
He does. And it's interesting because he does owe money to people and
right, like
calls them out. So
but he says it on the show. He's like, I owe this guy money, and who does he say on the show that he owes money to?
Beanie Siegel.
Oh yes,
$50 million. And he did it
from like years ago.
Yeah, he gave him the money. He gave him $50 million, and he gave him a 5% minority share in Easy Company.
Because he came up with the name Easy. Yeah.
Which he doesn't have to do that because it's not official. It's not like he did anything to trademark the name or anything. It's like
I respect that.
I do respect that.
That's a good move.
But then, like I said, it's one hand and out the other. It's like crazy and insane. You can get anything from this guy.
But he's always been like that. That's part of his persona, part of his image. Is it all an act, and he's actually so sane? Who knows?
Yeah,
probably not.
It'd be funny to find out if he was the most enlightened one all this time.
And he's just doing this all to like for this image, this product, like this Kanye West.
Yeah, or like that Dave Chappelle joke he was talking about Michael Jackson. He's like, if you find him this whole time, like your phrases and like you have to fool around like I said some Michael Jackson or whatever. I'm butchering the joke, but it's like, yeah. You're screwed now.
That wasn't from the closer. That was from
that's way back. It's like that was like 5 specials ago, and it seems like his whole thing is now gone too. It's like no one's really talking about Dave anymore, and that was like a big thing. And see
no one's talking about Dave.
No, not anymore. Really, you remember the uproar over the special coming out?
Yeah, the trans jokes, the new specials.
The new special.
Yeah,
there's a lot of backlash behind that, but there's so much has happened since that. The news cycle we live in now is like people just get enough time to.
But it was also his last special, right? It's his last deal with the Netflix special.
That current deal, yeah.
And he also doesn't care what people say.
It's a joke, man.
If anything, he'll use it again in his next stand-up. Like he always does that. He goes like, "You guys didn't like this, so now I'm gonna go even further with it and make 2 jokes about it because you didn't like one."
Yeah.
And like he lives for that shit.
Yeah.
Of just taking something that the crowd and the masses don't appreciate, and he's like, well, if you don't like it, I'm going to do it again.
Yeah.
So you might as well just fucking laugh at it.
Yeah.
And it's funny. Like
I think it's funny. I think it's hilarious.
Do I understand the side of like, well, he's doing the same jokes over and over again? Okay, yes, but like, was it offensive? All comedy is offensive. Otherwise, it's not funny. Like, I don't know. It's a touchy subject to get onto, but like. It's so his brand to do exactly what he did.
Yeah.
And like, if you don't like it, just don't watch it.
His whole career.
Like he says that in his other special. You clicked on my face.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't want to watch it, just don't. Like, don't get mad at him for. There's so many cruel jokes out there in all different types of, whether it's a comedy album or a TV show or a movie or whatever. Like, if that's not your style, just let it be. Don't watch it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you think about the way context has kind of gone?
Well, I think that the backlash was taken out of context because they say like, he says, I'm Team Turf.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, that's like 3 words out of an hour-long comedy concert. Like, he says that, but like that's part of a joke. Mm-hmm. Like, he's not actually what's the word I'm looking for? Like homophobic or transphobic. Yeah. Like, and he talks about that in the show too.
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle, transphobic comedian, like he's just giving into it. Like he does not care. And I like it. I think it's funny. I laughed. I thought it was one of his better specials.
Man, I watched it within that week probably 8 times. But that's just me. I love watching Dave.
He's my favorite comedian of all time.
Dave Chappelle is my favorite comedian as well. Like Dave Chappelle, I think George Carlin, Bill Burr.
Mm-hmm.
These are guys I love to watch. Cat Williams. Calvin was the only one I like to watch while I'm smoking. I can't watch him just regularly. He sweats too much. It's too crazy.
His voice is too. Yeah, a lot of his stuff is like if you were sober, I guess. Oh, it's not as funny, but when you're high.
Yeah.
Cat Williams.
Oh man, that's hilarious. So NBA, man, what are you thinking?
Oh boy.
What do you think is gonna take it? What do you liking these teams? You think Washington's gonna stay number one?
That team's playing well.
Yeah.
Your team's playing well. This team's playing well.
Oh, we got Bulls hat on. Excuse me.
Have you known that like Bulls are my team?
I did not know that.
Well, the Raptors are my team. I'm from Toronto, but the Bulls have been like my secondary. I can't say secondary. I have two primary teams.
Yeah.
I live in Toronto, so by default, I'm like watching them
Raptors
more.
fan.
I'm going to more games. But like the Bulls have been my favorite team since I was like in high school, college. I just want to see them good again after Jordan. So we had a taste with Derrick Rose.
Derrick Rose, yeah.
But like I just want to see them be good and like.
This is the best.
We're only what 12 games in, so it's very early. Who knows? By the end of the season, they could be garbage again. But they're fun to watch, and they got DeMar. That's nice. You know, got a Toronto connection there.
He's killing it right now too.
Levine looks good. Ball looks good. Caruso is a good pickup.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying watching those guys. I don't think they're going to go far in the playoffs because they don't have that experience together. And matchup-wise, it's going to be tough for them. Like, their defense has been really good with their guards, but like, especially now that Patrick Williams is out for the year. Like, Vucevic is an all-star center, bad defender. DeMar is now your primary defender for 3s and 4s. That's terrible. Might as well be you or me.
Yeah.
Levine's good, Caruso's good, Ball's good, but like that's only going to take you so far. So I love them, but I don't see them coming out of the East.
You said secret invincible Atlanta Hawks last year.
Yeah, I could see them going maybe at that level, but Atlanta went further than I thought.
Yeah,
they played really well. They played really well in the playoffs, and I mean, and Philly didn't. But I think the East is still Milwaukee's, even though what are they right now, 7-7 or something?
They're playing.
They're outside the playoffs. Yeah. They're in Toronto's area, like 8th, 9th, 10th seed. But I still think it's theirs to lose. Like Drew Holiday was out for a while. He's coming back. He's getting back into his groove. Middleton's out right now. But I mean, when they're healthy, like Giannis is just getting better every year. It's scary. It's too scary. Philly looks good. Without Simmons, probably better because Maxi's a way better fit. He's playing at like an all-star level right now. But Brooklyn looks good. Clearly, they don't need Kyrie. They're good as with that duo right there.
Yeah.
The West, I don't see any. I don't think the West team's winning it. I think it's between like Brooklyn, Milwaukee.
I think Golden State.
Miami. Oh, sorry, Golden State. I forgot Golden State.
I think either
first team I said.
Either Golden State or Phoenix take everything down this year.
Phoenix looks good again. Both LA teams to me are out.
Yeah.
Like you're not going anywhere without Kawhi. Sorry, I know they won 5 straight before. I think the Bulls came in and beat them.
Yeah.
The Lakers just look weird.
They look so weird.
I was rooting for them. I don't know why, but I was rooting for them going into the season. But they're painful to watch, man. Like the turnovers they get are like turnovers we were getting in like high school ball games, like as inexperienced 17-year-olds in Canada. What? I just don't understand what's going on.
The stat they showed last week was Westbrook has had more turnovers than Kuzma, KCP,
all the guys they traded
combined, and Hero combined.
Hero's going off.
He's going off right now. But this is the thing. Washington. I thought Washington would be good. It's just a team full of misfits. The same thing with
Washington's like second in the East.
Yeah, the first.
First?
Yeah.
I don't think that can't last.
Bradley Beal's out though for I think 2 months.
That can't last.
His hand's broken or something.
Especially if he's out. I mean, the team's good. I like Dinwiddie. I think he's a solid point guard. Much better fit with Beal than Westbrook. Kuzma's averaging 14 and 10, 15 and 10. All right, Harrell's good, but like, are they coming out of the East? No. Are they going to make noise in the East? No.
I can't tell, man. I can't call it. If I want to,
they're playing better than with Westbrook.
It's true. If I was to say anything, like, okay, gun to your head right now, who are the 2 teams that are going to be there at the end?
In the finals?
Yeah.
I would say Golden State and Milwaukee.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the next would be like Phoenix, Brooklyn.
I'm gonna say Miami in Golden State.
I like Miami too. Jimmy Butler's my favorite player in the NBA.
Yeah.
Because he was drafted by the Bulls.
Yeah.
I was a Bulls fan. He became the best player. All of a sudden, he became my favorite player, and then they became stupid and traded him. So I'm a Miami Heat. I'm not a Miami Heat fan, but a Butler fan. So by default, I've been watching them. I like I was rooting for them against LA in the finals. Now they got Lowry, so that's another reason to root for them. I think they're fun to watch, and they could come out of the East, but I just don't think they will.
It's the same thing with the Lakers. Like I've never ever wore a hat for a different team. Lakers are my favorite.
I was surprised you were wearing that. 'Cause I know you're a Lakers fan.
Huge Lakers fan, but LeBron has completely ruined my Lakers experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because all those young guys that I love are now flourishing in different teams.
Bro, if they just kept, like in the last 5 years, if they kept half the talent that they traded away and surrounded LeBron with that, they'd be way better than whatever the hell they are right now.
Yeah.
Anthony looks good,
Yeah.
but like their team is so weird that like someone had to stand out. And like Davis is good, but he's always injury prone. It's a strangely built team. But so was their championship team from 2 years ago. So
Yeah. I mean, does anyone even count that though? It's in the bubble.
yeah, man, that's true.
No fans. Yeah, it's weird, man. To see Lonzo doing well and the Kuzmas, the Brandon Ingram, and Julius Randle.
Randle to me was a weird one because even when LeBron came, they had Randle and they had KCP already, and they let Randle walk to New Orleans. And New Orleans signed him that summer for a 2-year, $18 million deal, I think. And they signed KCP to a very similar deal. And I don't remember exactly how the roster was constructed back then, but there's no way that KCP was going to give you more than what Randle was going to give you for that same money.
Yeah.
Even if it was a bit more. Like, that would have been such a better fit with LeBron. Because I think back then it was LeBron, AD wasn't there yet, so Randle would have been a 5, and they had, I can't remember who else they had. They had Ingram still, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had Lonzo. To me, I was like, man, like, why'd they let that guy go? They had Josh Hart, yeah, because it was before the New Orleans deal. They had all those guys. It was a very strange move. And I mean, it doesn't matter what I say.
They won a championship, so I guess it works out. That's like people say with the Kawhi thing here. Like, it worked out because he got a championship. But now, it's better than I thought it would be.
Raptors?
Yeah, I didn't think Raptors would be.
I'm happy with the Kawhi trade. We got a ring. I don't care if we don't win another NBA game the rest of my life.
That's
I got to live and see the Raptors win a ring. Like, that's not something I thought that would have happened in my lifetime.
No,
being a Raptors fan my whole life, like, bro, we were bad. Even when we were good, we were bad. Like, we'd be up 20 points at halftime, and I'm just like, unless we go up by 30 or 40, we do not have this in the bag. Like, I know my team, we lose.
Yeah.
we lose close games, and like, until that year, even when we had DeMar and Kyle, like, there were some games when I was like, how are we losing these games? Maybe some of it was doing KC substitutions. Yeah. And some other little things here.
His adjustment, that's what's one of the things that's really good about Nurse is that his adjustments at halftime. Yeah. He's a master. He's really, really good. And even now, I know people who were like screaming bloody murder when Barnes got drafted. Like, idiot, what are you doing? We don't need him. Now that people love him, the same people say those same things. They're now like, this guy's the next Kawhi. And I'm like, man, hold your horses, man.
He's good. He's good.
12 games.
I'm glad we have him over Suggs.
Yeah.
The night of the draft, I was at work and I remember like looking at the screen like, that's weird. But I hadn't really watched Scotty Barnes play in college. I watched Suggs, well, especially because Suggs went way further into the March Madness tournament. So like by default, that's the biggest tournament. You're gonna start watching those games. Yeah. And everyone knew Cade was gonna go high. Everyone knew Jalen Green coming out of high school when he signed with that G League team, he was gonna be high. But Scotty was a dark horse. Yeah. But looking like the rookie of the year.
The assistant guy, right? Definitely, hands down.
Is he the next Kawhi? I don't think he's the next Kawhi.
I think OG will be the next Kawhi.
OG is more similar to Kawhi, and I don't want to say it, but I think Scotty Barnes is more on a Giannis trajectory. Maybe not to that level, but the playing style.
Definitely, absolutely.
Like, Giannis played point guard for a couple years, right? Like when Jason Kidd was there, he played the 1. Scotty can play 1 through 5. It looks like in guard 1 through 5 most definitely. He's only averaging a couple assists a game right now, but like you can see that he wants to be a facilitator. It's just not what the team needs right now. They need him playing that 3-4 role.
Especially with Siakam now injecting something different into the mix. It kind of upsets the continuity he had previously.
But Scotty calls himself a point guard.
Yeah,
like I remember watching videos of him in college, and like I think on his Instagram it says like number 4 point guard. Like that's what he calls himself. But he just knows like that's such a crazy talent to be able to know that you're one position but adjust yourself to play something else based on what your team needs. LeBron does that.
Yeah,
Giannis does that. Giannis plays center when he should, or he plays the 3 or the 4 when he should be a center.
Look, LeBron for me, like I don't see any different. Like he plays every position so well. I'll give him that. I don't like LeBron, and he's ruined my team, but he looks good in every position he plays, and I'll give him that. That's great.
Absolutely.
Like, personal wise, I think he's a great person. What he shows publicly, but on the court, the style of play he does, I don't really like. But that pertaining to that, like being a master of your position, I like that.
Yeah.
Did you go to the game when you went to LA? And what did you go to LA for?
No, it was August, so there was no.
Oh, okay, that means
I went to a Dodgers game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How was that?
It was cool. We sat up high.
Oh, that's before the playoffs.
This was before the playoffs, yeah. But they were still a good team. Like this was, we went to the game like maybe mid-August. So that's like a month before playoffs start. So they were in the playoff hunt. I think at the time they would have been like the 2nd seed.
Yeah.
But I'd never been to an MLB game outside of Canada. Yeah. So that was cool to see. Like in Dodger Stadium, it's like an old.
It's Wrigley, right? Wrigley
Field. Dodger Stadium.
It's called Wrigley. Oh, it's called Dodger Stadium.
Wrigley Field's in. That's Chicago Cubs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
It was cool, man. It was a little bit weird, like because of the timing. Like they were giving out vaccines in the hallways.
Really?
Yeah, like in the States, like they're just giving out vaccines left, right, and center. It's so weird. Like I got one of mine there because I had to get it to come back, and like getting it here was more of a hassle as a Canadian citizen than getting it there as a non-American citizen. Like I just walked into a CVS. Here you go. Here's $10 off at Target for getting the vaccine.
What? They give you a coupon?
So people aren't getting it enough, so they're like really trying to push it. And I was like, this is weird.
I thought it was a joke. They said they were giving away fast food coupons too.
No, it's real, man. It's real.
So what's the process like here? Just a queue, right? You just line up.
I had to answer all these questions, and even when I booked it, I had to wait in line.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, I have an appointment for whatever time, 2:00, and now I'm waiting in line. It's 2:20. Like, what's going on? Oh, well, we have all these slots, blah blah blah. And I'm like, this is just weird. Like, why is it like this? But in the States, no appointment, walk in, boom, done.
I wonder how the numbers are for the people in the States. I don't know, man.
I don't know. I'm uneducated on that, so I can't speak on it. But as in my experience, it was much easier to get it there.
So you travel a lot, or you did before?
Pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID. Do you think the experience of traveling now is well? It's obviously different, but do you see
messed
it
up now.
Worthwhile to go places now because they're half in, half out too?
It depends. Like I didn't see myself traveling until COVID was done.
Yeah.
When it first started, especially pre-vaccine, because it was like, well, we can't really go anywhere. And what if I go and then I get stuck somewhere else and I can't come home, or I do come home but I gotta quarantine, or the idea of getting sick, yeah. But then all of a sudden, 2 weeks turned into like a year and a half of COVID, and it was like, all right, I think I need to travel again.
Yeah.
But LA came up because my friend Patrick Perez had to go meet with some labels there, and he was going to work on an album, and we really only needed to go, or he really only needed to go for about a week and a half.
Mm-hmm.
But he has a lot of family out there, and they offered a place to stay and a car to drive. So flight's the same price whether you go for a week or a month, right?
Yeah.
And we just made a whole trip out of it. So it was kind of a half work, half play type thing. Got to hang out with his family and explore California and LA. Went and met with the labels and went to a couple shows, and he got in touch with some people. And then the last week and a half, we had another singer come in. Her name is Paige, and she lives in Norway, so she flew in, and they finished their album that they have together.
Yeah, what kind of music did she do?
How would I describe her music? It's like alt pop, left of center pop, like
New York.
Sorry?
Like Bjork?
Yeah, kind of, but she's got a very mellow vibe, but she's like classically trained in singing. She went to Paul McCartney's school in Liverpool for her vocals.
She British?
She's an amazing singer. No, she's from Missouri.
Oh, really?
She's from St. Louis, but she moved to England for college, and then I don't know how she ended up making her way over to Norway.
Yeah.
But yeah, they'd worked on 2 albums together in the past. One they did separately, one they did together in Toronto, and then this one they had already recorded and produced the whole album, but they just wanted to re-record it together live.
Yeah.
And kind of go through some mixing while it's much different in person versus sending files back and forth across the world, right?
Yeah.
So it was good, and she signed to a label in LA, so we got some studio time there and some equipment and pointers from them, so that was nice. And it's just good to get away. Like, even though it was weird to have to get the vaccine and the testing and all the stuff for the flights, like it just felt good to be outside of Toronto again.
Yeah.
Because I always try to leave the country at least once a year. Luckily, I woke up in 2020 in New York, and I spent 1 day there before coming back to Toronto. So I still count that as 2020. I was outside of Canada.
You got a New Year's party?
I was dating someone at the time, and she surprised me with this trip to New York. Kind of. So we were there. My birthday's on New Year's Eve, so it was like a birthday New Year's thing. Yeah, so it was like a little birthday trip. I think we were only there for 2 or 3 nights, but I woke up in New York.
Yeah, that's dope.
On January 1st, and then did traveling into LA. But then I went again to Florida last month.
Yeah.
I went and saw Tom Brady play live in Tampa Bay.
Really?
I'm not a football fan. I'm not an NFL fan. Like when I say football, usually I mean soccer.
Yeah.
I think out of respect, and I'm not a fan of either sport.
Yeah.
But I know when someone says football, they should mean soccer football.
Yeah.
It's football and there's American football.
Yeah, that's how I look at it too.
So I went and saw an American football game.
Who did they play?
They played Miami and they crushed them.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about the sport, but I had free tickets.
Yeah.
My mom and her husband were down there, and they had someone got sick or something last minute, so me and my buddy flew down and took the free tickets. Stayed for a couple days. To see the greatest of any sport, I would probably want to see live, no matter what it is, like whether it was football or
golf,
American football, golf, whatever. To see Tiger live, to see whoever, it would be cool, right? So I mean, I wasn't going to say no to that opportunity. And it was nice to be in the heat.
Yeah.
For a couple days, right?
Was that your first time in LA?
No, I had been to LA once before.
Oh, okay.
With an ex-girlfriend. She had family who lived there, so we went down for American Thanksgiving once.
Oh, dope. Is that this week?
But that was only for like a weekend.
Okay.
That was a few years ago.
That's this week, right?
American Thanksgiving is it exists. I don't know.
It's usually November, but I think it's the third week in November.
It's somewhere in November.
The last week of November. Oh,
last week of November.
All right.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, we were only there for like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
So I didn't really see too much of the city. It was mostly hanging out with family. But like to be anywhere for a month, you like really get to see what it's like.
Yeah, that's my flex too, man. I went to Colombia for the month.
Yeah, that would be cool. I went to Colombia for a few weeks.
Yeah,
only like three weeks maybe.
But the same, because I left early. So I had 3 weeks there, and then we did the last week in South Beach. Mm-hmm. We had a condo there.
But you stayed in one place in Colombia, right? For like the whole time?
Yeah, well, we had our own condo in Medellin,
mm-hmm.
and then we went to a couple places. We went to Cartagena. Went to the highest point, like highest tower. It's some small town. It's like their Lake of Bays.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful, man. There's cottages all around. The water's pristine. Yeah, we went to a bunch of places just exploring.
You stayed in each city for like a week?
A little bit, yeah. I think Cartagena we stayed for 3 weeks. Yeah. Well, I really like to see Bogota. They told me not to go. And now that
Bogota was the least interesting.
Because you went, yeah.
Well, I don't know when you went. We had to fly to Bogota.
No, I didn't have to.
For whatever reason, that was the only flight into the country. So we stayed there for a couple days, but it was boring.
Yeah.
Compared to the rest of the country.
Yeah.
But I was only in every city for like 2 or 3 nights. So even though I was in Colombia for like almost a month, like I was at was going so fast that like I got to feel the culture as a whole.
Yeah.
But each individual city I didn't really get to see as much.
Yeah, I like
it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it does something that I think that's why the month-long vacation is the best way to go. Even when I went to London, it's the same thing. Month-long, did a road trip all different places, and it was just better to like kind of ingrain yourself within the culture there to see how people live. I'd love to go back to Amsterdam. Amsterdam I only went for a week, but it was just such a vibe, man. Like
I haven't been out that way. I'd love to.
If I do get married, I think it's gonna be either a Scandinavian place for a party. Well, we've done it now. Like
Scandinavia is like Slovakia, like
no, Scandinavian, Sweden, Norway, or Scandinavia, right? Chris, what's that?
I guess Holland's in that region.
Is that
right?
Scandinavia? Sweden, Norway, Finland.
Sweden.
Yeah, one of those places, or
Slovenia.
Belgium would be another place I think about going. But the last two bachelor parties I've gone to, one was the weekend was in Amsterdam, Thursday through Sunday. Before that, it was a week in Mexico.
So Mexico's nice.
Yeah.
Resort though, like
it was resort. Man. It was one of those that old resort they used to do the MTV Spring Break. Okay, so MTV used to have a Spring Break show every year, and it'd be like
that was the location.
That was the location. Yeah, like whoever was the hot artist at the time would come down there and they would do a concert, and there'd be tons of people coming from all over the place to go there.
And you stayed at that hotel.
The hotel is now dilapidated. It's like it's so run down. I switched rooms twice.
Wow.
But it was like the first 3 days I wanted to go back home, and 2 people didn't actually go back.
Really?
They went back home. Yeah. Well, they have kids and stuff, and they miss their kids. Their kids are young, whatever.
But still, like how long you gone for a week?
We only went for a week, but after 3 days, like the thing about resorts, it's so monotonous. Everything is the same day after day. It was a little different for us because we're a bunch of guys. First time we got there, we took over a DJ booth. We gave the guy $20, and we played our own music. And they shut down the whole the whole beach party. Listen to Wu-Tang. Everyone's like, "Yo, where's the Toronto guys from Wu-Tang Toronto guys?" Because there's some people there from New York. But when we found the other pool, there was like 2 different sides of the pool, and we didn't know there was an other side where pretty much there's no one lining up for drinks at the bar. The other one's completely crowded. So once we found that place, we're like, "Yo, we're just chilling here. Let's go in the city during the day, and then at nighttime we go clubbing." And
what city were you in?
Cancun.
Oh, so you went to like Playa del Carmen?
Yeah.
Or in the day? I've been there. It's nice. I like that. But resorts overall are like you said, it's like people are just in the same routine. Like everyone goes to breakfast at the same time, and then you go back to your room, then you go to the beach or the pool. You go back to your room, and then you get lunch, and then you go to like it's just like this.
Monotonous. It's the same thing as being here. It's basically a schedule.
It's like rats.
Yeah. Excuse me. Wow.
It's strange.
Yeah, it's different. It's very different when doing the resort route over doing this. Get your own.
It's relaxing, I guess, if you literally just want to go and do nothing.
That's the best time I have traveling. Is when I just go there and there's no agenda. Like let's hit this museum at this time or go here at this time. I don't like doing that. Like let's just walk the streets. You see something that's interesting, or you meet somebody and they're like, "Yo, come here." Then if we judge a demon to be trustworthy people, I go with them. Like, I remember there's 2 kids that came here from Miami. I say kids, they're like 19 years old, and they were drinking here. Just like you came out with us. They came to the bar, and just chilling, and then we went to the Ossington, and we met up with you. The dude and his girlfriend. His name was Mike.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
You and Maria came to the Welly to my bar.
Yeah.
But I was getting off work. Or I was already off work sitting at the bar, one of the 2.
You were off work sitting at the bar.
And I drank with you guys, and you were like, "Oh, you were going to Reposado, maybe?"
Ugly Betty. We went to Reposado as well.
Oh, Sweaty Betty's.
Sweaty Betty's.
Yeah, and I remember coming to these.
Yeah, I talked to that dude recently. He's like,
I don't remember who was there other than you 2.
Yeah, just 2 people from Miami as well.
Okay, I do remember that night.
But they think everything. They want to know what was good to do in the city, and I'm like, "Yo, we'll just go with you after you come back to work." And they showed them like a couple. I think we went to 3 or 4 different bars. But that's the kind of thing you get when you actually meet people and get out of your comfort zone. I feel like when you're in a resort, it's like you're meeting other people, but they're other people from places that you come from. So there's no culture there. And when you meet the staff are really apprehensive to speak to you, like about anything like that.
Staff is all
They
I mean,
want
I
to
get
use
that
the
side of it. It's all fake shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
but, LA was like that for us, I think. Like we had some things where it's like, okay, we have to go do this on this day. Not like, oh, we want to go to this museum and do whatever. It was like, no, okay, well, this person can only meet at this time, or, you know, we're going to this game at this point. We're going to the studio. We're going to wherever. But other than that, it was a lot of just, what do you want to do today? What do you want to do this week? What do you want to do this month? Like, that's the way it should be for me, for us.
Yeah.
The way that our schedule worked out, like, we went to Joshua Tree one night and hung out in the desert. That was cool. That was totally unplanned until like the morning of or the night before or something.
Anybody else there?
Yeah, our friend from Toronto was there.
Did you randomly saw him there? Or
No. Like we knew that she was gonna be in LA for about a week overlap, and she had a place in the desert for a few nights. So she invited us out one night.
Yeah.
To do shrooms in the desert.
Yeah.
And chill and hang out. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really planned. It was like, hey, what are you doing? Well, I'm out in Joshua Tree. You guys want to come out tonight or tomorrow night, whatever it was? Yeah, sure. Great. And then we did.
Yeah, that episode on Entourage was really good.
Yeah, I did think of that episode. It was nighttime though. It wasn't day, and we were hanging it by the house. But like the house was massive, and like we had this big yard, and we were just sitting in the backyard, and we could see the stars. And we went on a bit of a walk, but like nothing crazy.
Yeah. Don't watch the Hills That Lies. You'd be lucky to do
What's that?
Hills That Lies?
Horror movie?
Yeah.
I don't watch horror movies.
It's probably good. Probably good.
Unless I'm with a girl and she wants to watch it, that's fine. But
Once you get scared.
yeah, then it's like, okay, you're against me. Well, I'm not going to protect you because I'm scared too.
You know, one of the craziest horror films I ever watched, I like to watch ones that scare me the most, the ones that are the most relatable, like, to me as a person. So if the things that they're doing, I would do.
Larger horror movies?
Huh?
Horror movies?
Yeah.
You can relate to any aspect of that?
Oh yeah. Have you seen well, you probably haven't seen it. What was it called?
Because they kill the black guy first? You're like, oh
No,
man, that should not have
I would not. That would never happen. Too smart for that now. When him and I, why we used to work at Blockbuster, we read horror movies all the time. So we know the taboos, how they get the black dudes first. So we wouldn't fall into these pitfalls. But movies like The Strangers, which is like loosely based off the Manson murders. This couple goes up to like their own cabin or whatever, in cottage country type of thing, and 3 people terrorize them. But literally every move they would make, I would basically have done the same thing. There's like a couple.
You would have done the same thing.
It's when you watch horror movies and it's like, yeah, why are you going in that room? Why are you going in there alone? It's stupid.
They got to advance the plot.
Exactly. So you're like, okay, well, that's stupid. Like, they're gonna get killed because they're stupid. But when someone's smart and they're like, shit, like, what do you do like in that situation? I don't know. I'd just be dead, I guess, because like I would have done the same thing they would have done. And
interesting.
That stuff scares the hell out of me.
So is that movie, The Strangers? Is it like actual horror and scary, or is it like, is there just gory, gross?
No, so it's not slasher.
That to me is not like those Saw movies. Like maybe they're great films. I've never seen them. Mm-hmm. I've seen bits and pieces, but like to me that stuff's just like it's gross. It's gory.
Yeah.
Blood and guts and whatever. Like it's not scary. It's just disgusting. There's a difference between gory and horror. Horror is like, yo, this is terrifying, and I'm gonna like think about this later and want to cry myself to sleep.
Yeah.
That's a horror movie. That's art. Versus like just looking at
slasher.
Yeah, that's 2 totally different things to me.
But slasher film is like its own little niche, man. Like people love slasher film. Like we grew up loving slasher films. Like Friday the 13th, probably because it was so repressed.
But those are like Friday the 13th I've seen. That's still scary because they have some like eerie scenes and the way he navigates, creeps up on people. Like it's scary, but
it's like you said. It's the same thing. It's like at first it starts off as that, and then I was like, "Oh, we can make money off this." It becomes a franchise. Like, okay, well, let's add all these other stupid elements to make it like just dumb. And
is that what Saw did? I've only seen like little pieces here and there.
I've seen the first 2 Saws, and Saw. I don't like gore personally, but I like the questions they pose. I like.
Oh yeah, so it's a game, right?
Yeah, the philosophy behind why he was doing the things he did and choosing the people he chose.
Maybe I shouldn't judge. Maybe I should see it.
But it's a crazy movie too. It's like if you're posed with a question like, saw your own hand off, or you die because to just get to that key or whatever the case is, then what would you do in that situation? Like it poses these very interesting situations, almost like
I changed the movie.
Silence of the Lambs. And the girl's trapped
That's scary.
in the well. Of course, it's scary.
Maybe it's not like your typical horror where you're like, you know, you're like, oh, but like you're creeped out by the end of the movie.
Yeah,
you're like, you know, that was freaky. Like watching, I think it's in the second one, the guy eats his own brain. Ray Liotta's character, he's eating his own brain. You're like it's not scary, but it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Like the concept of like those people are out there doing this kind of shit. Maybe.
Well,
it's weird.
It's
right?
definitely more than likely. I think
more than likely, yeah.
all
Like,
these things
maybe,
are
nothing that I
crazy.
know, but I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
Yeah. The scariest horror film I've watched in recent times is probably Quiet Place.
I have never seen that, but I've been told I should.
It's great. It's great. It's the best modern day horror movie I've seen.
And it looks like a horror film based like on the trailer and like the memes online from like the pictures I've seen. Like in the concept, like the plot sounds scary. Like,
Yeah,
it's a very interesting. It's a different take on horror.
Yeah.
So that movie I might like, but again, I wouldn't watch it on my own.
Yeah, that's a date movie for sure.
Mm-hmm. All horror movies are date movies for me. It's the only situation.
I see you have all the foliage in your house too now. You got all these plants, man. Your place is looking like...
I love the plants.
Like you're
I
a
love the
Rasta
plants,
dude,
man. It feels so good. Like I've been in my place now for almost 2 years. My first time living fully alone, solo. Yeah. And like I didn't have a lot of stuff. Like I had a dining table, I bought a couch, and I had, you know, all the basic things. But as I kept adding things into my home, I was like, it doesn't feel like a home yet, and I couldn't tell what it was. And then as soon as I got like my first plant, it was like this big majesty palm that I put like right as you walk in the front door, kind of like behind my couch.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I came into my house, I was like, this feels way better. And it was just that one plant right there. And then I just slowly started adding and adding and adding. And it feels nice. It looks good. It smells different. Like some of the plants, they give off these aromas and it makes it, they say it's better for breathing and whatever.
Yeah.
Like, is it really? I don't know, but I feel like it is, so I believe it. Like, I noticed the smells. Like when I was driving home, I went plant shopping. Last time was a couple weeks ago. And like loaded up everything in the car, went and brought the cart back to the store. And when I sat back down in the car, like it just smelled like life.
Yeah.
Like fresh plants. And I was like, this is so nice. That was in my car, right? Not in an apartment. But you still like, when I come home, it's the first thing I smell. It's like, oh, that plant by the TV, that's the one that's giving off that aroma right now.
Yeah.
It's nice. It looks sick. Is it Rasta? That's alright with me.
Yeah, most Rastas have like enough plants, like incense going. As soon as I saw it, that's what I thought. Because
I have incense too.
Yeah.
I think I'm out of them right now, but
when I went to the deep dive and go plants, they're basically the same as almost everything that I learned in life is from like thinking about it and like researching myself.
Mm-hmm.
But plants, I just one day woke up, I'm like, man, I wonder like what the benefits are to having plants. So I look at different plants and see what they are. And there's some that detoxify the air. There's some that are really good for your blood. There's some that they kind of ward off insects. There's so much.
Some bring insects.
Yeah,
if you like that.
Some bring insects. Yeah. So yeah, they offer so much different benefits.
Outside of the visual aesthetic, yeah.
That
was how I got into it at first, was the visual part. But then it just started to feel more homey.
Yeah.
Having them around. Like I'll be sitting on my couch and like the corner that you're in, I have a big thing right behind it. Depending on how it grows out, sometimes you get a little tickle on the back of your neck and I'm just like, oh, what are you doing back there?
A little shot horse. Feed me, Seymour.
Or when I'm like on my balcony, I have like a ledge on the inside, and I got a bunch of plants that hang out there, and like it just looks so good looking inside from the balcony.
Yeah,
such a nice view.
Did your balcony face south or does it face?
It faces south.
So it faces the water.
Yeah, but I'm only on the 5th floor,
so
and there's a few buildings. Like Parkdale's a lot of apartment buildings.
Yeah.
So there's a few behind me, so I can't see the water. I mean, I guess technically you could probably get a little sliver.
Yeah.
And if I look over like this, I could say I can see a tower view.
Yeah.
But if I was like 5 stories higher, I would have a great view of Lake Ontario.
Yeah.
And like all of the south end of Parkdale. Yeah, that would be a nice view. I should ask them if any units come up.
Yeah. I mean, Who knows?
But I like where I'm at. It's a good spot. I got the corner unit, so like where my bedroom is like the corner of the building, so I don't have any sounds from like other apartments or anything like that.
It's like what, the staircases, basically?
The staircase is one side, and then like my bedroom wall, like say like this is my bedroom wall, like that is the air outside, and this is the air outside. There's nothing.
Oh, that's perfect.
Because I'm right in the corner.
That's the best space. I wouldn't.
And like I share a wall with my kitchen. Dining room shares a wall with the apartment next to me, but it's also their kitchen dining room.
Yeah.
So like, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good little spot.
That's good, man. As we come to the conclusion here, I like to. It's a segment now that I've been trying to promote. It's like, what do you think? Piece of advice you can leave for a dude in order to help better their life. I guess girls can use it too, but I know last week I used a mantra from the Hagakira. This is basically outlines that every day you should only be trying to be better than you were the day before. Mm-hmm. So this constant perfection of you basically stop, right? What I will leave today is something I read from Earn Your Leisure, one of my favorite podcasts, financial podcasts of two dudes in New York. And they posted something on Instagram and it said, if you're now planning for the next year and your grind is to make, I think it was $50,000, he's like, define it. And if you're defining it, cut it down from year to month to week to day type of thing. And the way he broke it down is like, your side gigs should make you at least $900 and some odd dollars a week in order to get to $50,000 a year.
For the year. Okay.
I never thought of it like that, and I've actually come in contact with different things with compounding money. Like when I was bartending, there's this whole compound thing that they would every day save $1 one day, next day $2, next day $4, and keep going in increments until it gets to a certain point, and then go backwards. And you'd be astounded when you'd save. But that's my tip. If you're looking to like have New Year's resolutions for next year, I'd say work on those New Year's resolutions now. So when that day comes, you're already going. You're not like, okay, well, now I go. If you want to go to the gym, if you want to eat better, if you want to handle money better, anything you want to do, my New Year's resolutions always start in November. And
I like that.
Because it just keeps on perpetuating. So for me, financial freedom, my only hope. I was said this to Jay-Z, but that's a big thing for me financially going forward. I want to be in a space, especially with the way all this stuff went down, to be stable. Mm-hmm. Be prepared for something like this to happen, because a lot of people weren't really prepared for this at all. And
for sure.
If you're in a country that didn't have the kind of benefit they gave a lot of people here, and a lot of people would have been screwed.
We were lucky, considering how unlucky we were.
Yeah, true.
But I like that. Like, people don't think about long-term goals like that. They like think, oh, it's a long-term goal, I'll deal with it next week. But it's like, bro, if you're there's 52 weeks, you gotta break them down each week. I like that. I haven't thought about it that way. Now I have to give advice.
Yeah.
Look at the camera. I read, when I was in LA, I read in this book, something that I took away from it was that no matter what happens in your life, take responsibility for it, even when it's not your fault, especially when it's not your fault. And for me specifically, it hit home because, like, I touched on it earlier, but like going into COVID, like I had just moved out to my own place. I had a really good bar job where I was making crazy cash. I had the side DJ thing that was, we were doing weekly events at all these spots, and I had like set myself up very well. And it was all just kind of taken away, right? It was like, okay, well, bars are closed, events are done, so literally my two sources of income were just taken away. And like, not just the income, but like that was my lifestyle. Like it was what I lived and breathed, right? And I, set it up for myself that way. And I was on a path where I was here, but it was like, man, like I can just live like this for a couple of years, and then I can figure out what I want to do, because I've made it so that I can, save while still making good money. But For like a long time, well, up until LA, I was thinking about it like, well, that wasn't my fault, so how can I beat myself up over it? Like, it'll come back or it won't, and I'll have to move on with it. But not that I haven't acted on it yet, but the advice that I'm giving you, I need to follow myself, is that wasn't my fault and I wasn't responsible for it, but I should act as if I am, because I'm probably going to react better to it if I act like it was my fault. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I need to work on it too, but definitely that's a piece of advice that I'll give.
Yeah, that's great advice, man. Thank you for coming through today.
Thank you.
All right.
Happy to be here.
See you guys next week. Next week we got Rob Rots. Interesting dude. He's a bartender as well. He started his own clothing company. So stay tuned next week, all right? Peace.